second of two Beyond the Front Page shows tonight, brought to you by Q. Okay, Riley? Good evening and welcome to the second of two Beyond the Front Page shows tonight for Q Community College that are broadcast on Time Warner Communications, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, ARMA, as well as Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm Guy Cosentino, the host. A footnote before we get into today's show, we just finished a show with Eileen Jarrett about her film documentary Blueberry Soup. We said that the session on Monday was at the Irene Bisgrove Theater. It is not. That is where the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble is tomorrow night. That will be at the Auburn Public Theater on Monday night. But we are delighted to have in the studio with us Cleo Parker Robinson, who is with the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, who is here on campus to do a couple of things, including a performance tomorrow night, Friday, September 30th at the Irene Bisgrove Theater, as well as teach master classes for students here at Spartan Hall, as well as talk to students, which she did this morning as we tape here Thursday afternoon. And just for the record, the event that is tomorrow night is sponsored by the Student Activities Board. I am also associated through another funder as the executive director of that organization that is also funding this event tomorrow night. But we've asked Ms. Robinson Parker Robinson to be here to talk about what she is doing on campus tomorrow night, but more importantly, talk about arts and education and how important that is to the communities.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to say welcome to be on the front page, but welcome back to Q Community College, because you were here before.
I was. I had my company, but most of the dancers that are here have never been here.
Okay.
They weren't with me when I brought the company, I think, 8 years ago.
Okay.
But I have one member who's a 10-year member, and Cedric Hall, I think, was with me at that time.
And how big an ensemble are with you today?
We brought 10 dancers.
Okay, so will all 10 be on stage tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely.
Will you be on stage?
I will talk to the audience, and I always have a little fun at the end with the entire audience, so I get to dance a little bit.
And people can come to this event. We'll be plugging it through their tickets are available at the door,
yes.
But please come to the theater tomorrow night at 7. How long is the performance for?
It's about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an intermission? No intermission?
There is an intermission.
Okay.
So it's really a great night. Lots of diversity in that night.
So why come back to Cuba?
Oh, first of all, we were invited, and I've always been waiting for the invitation again. And Norman had a chance to...
Normally, who is the student activities director?
Oh, he's wonderful. Norm had a chance to speak with my son, I think, at a booking conference in New York, and they began to talk about bringing us back. And so, with all the support, here we are again. Thank you.
So, some remedial questions for you. What is a dance ensemble?
Oh,
specifically
an ensemble.
Yours?
Yes. Well, we're a company of 10 dancers, but they can, I can enlarge it or make it smaller, but ensemble means it's more than a solo or duet. We're a repertory company, which means we do the work of a lot of different choreographers. I'm the main choreographer for the company, but I don't always choreograph. I have people who I think are wonderful come in and work with the company. So from great artists, they'll see tomorrow night Donald McHale, who's been doing work on Broadway and film and worked with the Beatles and Sammy Davis Jr. And we'll do a piece that was done 50 years ago that is still relevant today.
So how many pieces will people see tomorrow night?
So they'll see about 5 works.
Okay.
5 works. We'll see 2 short works and 3 long works.
Okay.
And we'll see 5 different choreographers.
And does that mean that all 10 will be on stage at the same time, or is it different combinations sometimes?
We have 3 works that they'll see everyone on stage, and we have 2 works where they'll see duets.
Okay.
And within the works, they'll see ensembles, they'll see quartets and quintets and solos, and so they have a chance to really get a feeling for the company.
And I know the Citizen's done a profile of you today in their edition,
yes.
But how long has your ensemble been
we've been
operating?
together, right? We've been together. I started the company in 1970, So we're going into our we're in our 46th year.
Okay. And you're based out of where?
We're out of Denver.
And have you always been a Denverite?
I've always been a Denverite. I was born there in a very famous place called Five Points,
Okay.
where the jazz was very prevalent, and people called it the Harlem of the West.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
That's not what I think about when I think of Denver.
No,
for
we
some
think
reason.
about the mountains and skiing Pikes Peak.
So does your ensemble, it operates out of there, but are you mainly a touring company?
We're everything. I mean,
Okay.
we have a school. We have a year-round school where we train dancers every day, and we have a theater, so we present all the time. We have dance companies come in. We have musicians. I had the Moscow String Quartet. We have theater productions that come in, and so we do it as a rental. So we run our theater.
Mm-hmm.
We have our year-round school where we teach children from the age of 1 all the way up to whatever age, from beginners and novices and people who just like to work out, all the way to professional dancers.
And how often do you tour the country?
And then we tour all the time.
Okay.
And we tour
mainly campuses, or do you do different
no, we
venues?
tour the Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center, Jacob's Pillow, the American Dance Festival.
Any idea how many weeks a year you're on the road?
It depends upon the year, what the booking is like. This year's a good year. Sometimes there's less touring and more what we call outreach, community outreach in our own community. Our community is growing like crazy. So we're in all kinds of schools. We're in about 30 schools where we teach. So we try to shape our teaching
And Denver's
residencies.
had a real rebound since
Yeah,
2008.
it's been amazing.
A lot of construction.
Oh gosh, yes. You've got to come.
All
It's
right.
really, even in our area in Five Points, it has changed so much. It's and we're in a historic church. We're in the first black church that was ever built in the region.
And so is there
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
for your type of dance, and
Yeah.
again, this is somebody who
Yeah.
likes going to events, but I don't know the terminology, so
right. No,
please pardon my ignorance.
That's
Is
why
there-
we're here.
Is there a particular style of dance that your
Well,
group does?
We are a contemporary or modern company.
Okay.
We do the works of lots of different choreographers that have the range. Some are more ballet, some are more African, some are more hip hop, some are more folklorico. So we have to train in all of those disciplines.
And are most of your dancers from the Denver area, or are
No,
they from
no.
all over the country?
None of them are from Denver.
Okay.
They come in and I audition them. I may audition them, like if I see someone in class, I might look at them and say, "Are you interested in coming to Denver?"
Okay.
You see, but I have New York auditions, and I have auditions at least once or twice a year in Denver.
So you grew up in Denver.
I did.
I'm assuming you didn't go from high school to opening up your own dance studio.
Well, I sort of did.
You did? Okay. All right.
I did. I started teaching really young.
Okay. Did you go to the Denver schools? Is that?
I did. I went to Denver schools. But my mother and father were musicians. They were at the University of Denver. My
Okay.
mother was out of San Diego, and she played French horn really young with the San Diego Symphony, like, 12. I mean, she
Okay.
started playing classical music. And my father was a jazz musician. I mean, he loved all music, but he was more of in the jazz realm. And my father being African American and my mother Anglo or white American, so they came together through music. And so I had these two unbelievable worlds. My father very outgoing, Mama kind of quiet, and my father became one of the first black actors in Denver. So we were always able to see him on stage doing magical things. And then, of course, my mother did the costumes and helped in this wonderful theater that became the Denver Center for the Performing Arts.
So do you have a vision or a mission that you see your ensemble providing?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think what's wonderful is dance, the arts are transforming. And not only of the artist's life, but those who are in that circle of creativity. And we see people change all the time. And to change for their higher selves, what their potential is.
So do you have a mantra that you have?
I do. I go one spirit, many voices. I say that all the time in our summer program. I have an international program that we've run for many years. I would teach at in Hawaii on the Big Island, so I taught there for 10 years. I would leave my company, go teach in Hawaii, run back, and I began to feel like what was important is that people learned about each other through the arts, so that the world is just a magical place, but a very scary place for children if they are watching just CNN or watching the news all the time.
So we had several competing events here up on campus today. You were doing one. You were doing something called a talk and chew. What is that, by the way?
Well, it sounds like we come together with interested students or faculty, and we have lunch together.
So
and
Mesa
we just
Grande brought some food in.
Yes, it was delicious. We had a great time.
How many people were at your session today?
We had a number of students and a few faculty, and it was intimate, and it was wonderful.
First of all, what did you talk about?
Well, we were filmed as soon as we came in the room, so we had no idea that we would be interviewed. So we were interviewed by the paper, and also Malcolm did some of the video. And so he said,
one of our film students.
Yeah, he was wonderful.
Students.
And so they started asking me questions, and I said, well, since the dancers are here, why don't we ask them questions? So they were wonderful questions about when they started.
What were their questions about?
They wanted to know about process. How does one become a dancer? You know, what is the process? And I had my rehearsal director there, Winifred Harris.
So what is the process?
Well, show up.
The old Woody Allen parlay. The success in life is 80% of life is showing up.
Show up.
Okay.
Yeah, you need your body. So you got to have the courage to come on in. And then the next is trying to see where you are. Most people, I think, can dance. Most people, they always say, I have 2 left feet, I can't dance. But I've taught all over the world, and I've taught almost 50 years. And I know people can move because it's natural. It's like breathing. They can move. But from movement to being professional dancers is a pretty big range there. Okay. And so what we do is train every day. We take class at 10 o'clock, ballet or modern, and then we go into repertory work. We study tapes for hours. We find, if we're studying a tape, we're finding out how that dancer moves, who could have done the work maybe 10 years ago, and we translate that movement, and then we get a rehearsal. We then study the music. We study where that particular piece, a lot of research goes on.
So were the students that came to hear you today, were they mainly theater students, or were they all?
We had a couple of theater students. We had a poet. We had a writer. We had 2 young ladies who were going to be at the concert. They wanted to know more about the performance. Okay. So that was really great.
So there is a national discussion now.
Yes.
So get a little bit away from Cuga for a second.
Yes.
National discussion about STEM, which is the whole idea of science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Right.
There are a lot of people who think that an A should be put in that.
Oh, yeah.
To put the word arts in there, so it would be STEAM.
Yes.
How important, from your view, looking at this from 41 years as an educator, is the idea of not only putting that A into STEM to make it STEAM, but also just the arts in general? Because there's a discussion going on generally in Central New York about this.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, one of the things that I was always interested in education and psychology, how the mind works. And I know that oftentimes education is mind and not body. And I think if you integrate mind, body, spirit, and the spirit of a young person, because oftentimes it's a temperament, as we know. It's they have to be willing, they have to feel good about themselves, they have to know themselves. If they're only working with, you know, that kind of, I need these facts, I need this knowledge, and they don't bring their whole self to it, sometimes they don't retain it. They might get it, but they don't retain it. I think when you have the arts, they embrace it in a very individualized way, a very personal way, and it becomes theirs. So I think it's critical.
Okay, so I want to go on that pathway. And again, you come from a community that is having some resurgence economically.
Oh, yeah.
So does that mean that in Denver they're putting money into the arts?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I think we found, we have something that's very unique, I think, in Denver, and it's SCFD, the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District tax, which
Okay.
is a tax that is in several counties. We have 7 counties that have their sales tax that goes right to
So a portion of
science.
that goes.
Right.
Okay.
It's a very small portion, but all the businesses are involved in that. So it's a large amount of money that is split up between hundreds of arts groups and science.
And I know in Onondaga County,
And
they
it's
have, when they've done some
wonderful.
bonding
Yeah,
projects,
exactly.
they have put money into the arts. Do we put, whether you consider it dance or theater, music,
Yes.
or visual arts or performing
Right.
arts, do we put enough resources in that area?
I don't think so. I think that we're really trying to make up for the time that so much was cut out of the schools. That's why I think we forgot why we have to go to STEM and why we need to go to STEAM is because we took so many things for granted that it wouldn't make a difference, and we see it really does.
So
when you take away the arts.
So your feeling would be that you do need to have that, extra
yeah.
A and that.
Yeah.
But still, this recommitment to STEM
Oh, yeah.
to start with the sciences and
I think
technology.
I think you start with it all.
So as we, so go ahead. No, please.
My husband's a math teacher. He's, our son grew up with this side of the brain, math, and I grew up, he grew up with my total creativity and seeing how they kind of come together. He's our new executive director.
Okay.
And seeing how his mind works about things, where it's really.
So is he a dancer?
No, he's our executive director.
Okay.
He teaches Zumba, but he does not call himself a dancer because he knows what they have to do.
Okay.
But Malik is really talks about it all the time, about having that focus on math all of his life and this unbelievable exposure to the greatest artist in the world and what that did for him.
So you are teaching master classes today. I know
Yeah.
as we tape, that means that some people
Right.
can't participate. But first of all, what is a master's class?
Well, we are, oftentimes it's a class that you take with the instructor from a particular field. It could be a musician or a dancer, in theater or even visual arts. But they've been in their work for a period of time where they are a master.
So let's say,
so
for
to
example,
speak.
today the first one is beginners.
Right.
What will you be covering in that?
Well, I always make a class according to who comes. I mean, I call it Cleo dance because I've been doing enough of it where I feel who comes in. So I can have a mixed class. I can have some that are adults. I can have teenagers, or I can have students. I can have community come in. You never know. Sometimes you have members from the football team who just are curious and want to know what it's like to take a dance class.
So those are beginners.
Yeah.
But you're also doing
the
an
beginners,
intermediate.
and then we'll have the intermediate
and advanced.
usually we have dancers who are more trained.
Okay.
So the beginning class is to introduce them to space, relationships to their own bodies,
And are they
time, rhythm, space.
So are these people who pre-registered, or are they just walk-ins?
It depends upon where we're teaching.
Well, I'm talking about here in
right
Auburn.
here. I think some have pre-registered, so Norm might know how many
And
students we
you
might have.
charge for that, and that's a class. That
Yeah,
people
it's
are
a
taking.
class, and it's usually an extraordinary experience. You want them to have the most wonderful experience. They have a chance. The way I teach the master classes, I make sure that they study with my dancers, so that when they see the dancers in a classroom, it's one thing. Then they see them on stage and they go, "Oh my God, I know who that is."
So the dancers will be teaching
Oh, yeah,
this class.
they'll
Will you
teach
be
both.
teaching it as well?
I won't be teaching it. I'll be
Okay.
coming to both classes. I'll go into
So the
both
hope
the
is that
beginner.
the people who go to the master's class, whether it's the advanced and intermediate or the
Right.
beginner, will come tomorrow night as well.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's to inspire them to have more knowledge about what that exactly that they'll be seeing, and to feel more comfortable. Sometimes people don't come to the theater or take class because they go, "I've never done that before," and they're not real courageous. They don't want to sort of feel stupid or feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
So we just had a documentary on just before you came on, and when we think in Cayuga County,
Yeah.
in Auburn, the
Yes.
area of the arts, we tend to think of a beautiful visual arts facility in the sense of the
Yes.
Schweinfurth Art Center,
Yes.
which does everything from quilting to visual arts.
Yes.
We obviously have a musical theater festival here locally. Where does dance appear in the lexicon for communities of what they should be thinking about? Why should they be thinking dance is part of the arts?
Well, dance is the first art form. It's the first thing we do before we even speak. It's the first way we communicate. It's with our bodies. Whether we know, I mean, it's nonverbal communication. And so it's really, it's pretty primal. It's what people do and they need. So dance is also visual. I mean, and it's also very intellectual. It can be very esoteric, where it's, it comes out of my mind, what it is, and it's also, we deal with social issues, and we deal with how do we change the energy. It's even scientific. Dance is molecules. We're moving air, we're moving space, we're moving. So it can be math. It's pretty all inclusive, but we're also sculptures. We're moving sculptures. So when we go into schools, we can relate dance to all kinds of things.
So it doesn't matter whether it's the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble
Right.
or Missy Copeland in New
Doesn't
York.
matter. And we were with her last week. Hello,
Okay.
hello, hello. That was wonderful. We brought her. I didn't want to interrupt, but it was
Oh,
so
no, please,
exciting.
please.
How we have Misty Copeland.
So tell people who
Yeah.
may not know, other than if they watch
oh.
CBS Morning,
Oh,
where
yeah.
they did a wonderful.
Misty Copeland is actually one of the finest ballerinas now with ABT.
She's the first.
She's the first black, they say, the
No,
first
no,
black.
but her yes, I'm
the
sorry.
first-
She is the first African American, but there's a title for her position
Yes,
in
she's the principal dancer.
principal.
She's
principal
principal dancer
okay.
with the American
I was
Ballet
gonna say
Theater.
first, but that didn't make sense.
Yeah, well, they're saying first.
Okay.
But she's not the first.
So she's the principal
she's-
dancer
yes.
for the New York Ballet.
Right, for the American
So
Ballet
what were you
Theater.
doing with her?
Well, we had a wonderful luncheon, a very small luncheon of 2,300 people.
Okay.
And everybody came from everywhere.
Can't fit them in the brew pub.
Yeah, right. No,
Or
2,300
okay.
people came to lunch. We had the Women's Foundation luncheon,
Okay.
and she was the guest speaker, and she was wonderful. But the challenge was had her in a convention center, and we had her downstairs. We had to take her upstairs at a private VIP, back down into the ballroom. So we were worried about, whether or not she could get through the crowds.
Right.
And they were worried about her
But
legs,
but
her ankles.
Right, but that is somebody
So
who,
we moved her. We moved her
So
all the way up and all the way down and all the way through.
So besides her being, and this has helped with this discussion, I guess,
Yes.
with her being the first African American
Yes.
as the principal
Right, and at
dancer.
the American Ballet
But
Theater.
that has put more of a spotlight on dance,
Yes, yes.
which has been good for your
Yes.
industry.
Yeah, we hope that we see. I mean, after I was with her, and I think she's extraordinary and so down to earth. But her story, it's really her story. It's an American story.
It is.
It really is. I mean, her struggle and being in foster homes and going from one home to another, and with only a one-parent home and brothers and sisters, and then going to the Boys and Girls Club. And so our school, our studio is sort of like the Boys and Girls Club.
But it is that idea of showing up.
Yeah, you got to show up.
And hard
Got to be
work.
there, and then you have to stay committed. But it's not so hard to be committed if we tap into something that's really wonderful. Like if you find yourself, you can't stop but going.
So again, tomorrow night you're going to have 5 performances here at the Irene Bisgrove. When I say tomorrow night, because this will be shown after this, and it's going to be on Win 89, the radio station. Friday the 30th at
Yes.
7 p.m. It costs $12 to get in the door.
That's right.
And
Isn't that
it's open to
extraordinary?
the public to attend. I think it's a great buy for time. Is there any specific age?
No, it's all ages.
No, but in the sense of...
Of performers?
No. Well, I guess, is there ages of performers? But I was also going to the opposite side.
Yeah.
Is this something that you don't bring a 5-year-old to? Is this somebody for a more mature child? Or is it a young adult?
We have every age.
Okay.
Every age. I always like to do a little talk back so that I will stay afterwards and talk about the pieces. But one piece is by a brilliant choreographer out of Mexico called Mictlan. And it really is about the Afro-Mexicans And so I think children should know more about the history all over the world. So it's a pretty powerful piece. It's our new one. Songs of the Disinherited is marvelous. I mean, it's just so spirited. And then I'll end with Bambula. It's a piece that I started working in New Orleans and in South Africa. The wonderful choreographer Millicent Johnny worked with us. So we're taking just the last piece, and it's Mardi Gras. Okay. Everybody dances. So everybody gets up and dances.
And so I'm going to give you the last word. Make the pitch for why somebody should come tomorrow night.
Well, if they have not seen the company, they have missed something extraordinary. The artists are amazing. I think to see when you talk about Misty Copeland, what the mind and body and spirit can do is really phenomenal. So they come because they'll be inspired to do exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
We want to thank Cleo Parker Robinson for joining us of the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble. They will be here tomorrow night at the college at the Irene Bisgrove Theater at Friday night, September 30th at 7 p.m. To do a performance that the public is invited to. It's $12 to attend. It is being sponsored mainly by the college's Student Activities Board, and we would encourage you to come to that event. A couple of programming notes before we go, though. I do want to follow up on what I said at the beginning of the show. There is a showing of Blueberry Soup about the Icelandic constitutional issues that we talked to Eileen Jarrett about a few minutes ago. I had said that they were at the Irene Bisgrove Theater. It is going to be at the Auburn Public Theater downtown at 7 p.m. on Monday the 3rd. On Tuesday the 4th, we will feature a discussion with city officials on the new parks plan that they have decided on Inside Government. And then on Beyond the Front Page, we'll have Tracy Ververs, the new executive director of the Cayuga County Chamber of Commerce and Cayuga Economic Development Agency, in to talk about her agency and what it's doing, as well as their upcoming event at the end of October. Next Thursday, the 6th, we'll have one of our favorite guests in here, New York State Senator John DeFrancisco, a big supporter of the arts. If you go to his office, he does not have photos of politicians in his office. They're all of people in the arts, especially in the music area, for an extended Inside Government interview. Later in the month, we'll be hosting, as we normally do, a series of political forums. We'll have candidates for the Assembly and the Senate, we hope to bring to you. We have the candidates for the 126th Assembly District, which includes Auburn and Cayuga County, with incumbent Gary D. Finch and returning challenger Diane Dwyer, here for November 1st. Before we go, though, we would like to let you know that you can send your thoughts and ideas for questions or ideas for shows to Inside Government at P.O. Box, Inside Government 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York, or by email at cozguytho@aol.com. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. It wasn't called Auburn Community College for a very long time. We want to encourage you to come to see the performance tomorrow night of the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble at the Irene Bisgrove Theater. But otherwise, we hope you have a good night, have a great tomorrow, and we'll see you back in the studio next week.